That's right, soy and corn. These are recent additions to the list. Previous to October 2015, we considered 10 bad foods. We have recently added corn and soy to the list, and here is why. Corn and soy are amongst the most genetically modified, genetically engineered foods available on planet Earth, and they are abundantly, copiously, profusely sprayed with an herbicide called Roundup, the scientific name for which is glyphosate. Recent data released by the World Health Organization, of all places, the World Health Organization, classifies Roundup as a carcinogen, a cancer-causing agent. And research also links directly the use of genetically engineered food, the consumption of genetically engineered corn and genetically engineered soy with 4 different types of cancer and deaths from high blood pressure, deaths from stroke. Let's look at the numbers. This first chart here shows the incidence of liver and bile duct cancer, liver and bile duct cancer. The red line, which you'll see going across the chart, is incidence of these types of cancer when Roundup has been applied to corn or soy, whether it was genetically engineered or not. The blue line shows rates of cancer when people have consumed genetically engineered corn and soy. So you can have naturally occurring corn and soy that's had Roundup sprayed on it, and or you can have genetically engineered corn and soy that has or has not had Roundup applied to it. That's what the red and the blue lines signify. The yellow bars, the vertical bars on this chart, are the incidence of the different types of cancer. Now, interestingly, on this chart, you'll see a green bar going across at about a 35-degree angle. That green bar represents the incidence of, in this case, liver and bile duct cancer that we would expect to be happening from historical trends. What we would expect to see happening from historical trends. And this, of course, is juxtaposed to the increased incidence of these types of cancer when people are eating genetically modified corn and soy and or corn and soy that have been sprayed with the herbicide Roundup. You can see in this case, liver and bile duct cancer, a remarkable correlation between the two. Next on the list, kidney cancer. It's a similar list. It's harder to see the trend here, but the trend exists. The incidence of kidney cancer has increased since the introduction here of genetically engineered corn and soy, and or the consumption of corn and soy that has been applied, sprayed with Roundup. Bladder cancer. This is an easier trend to see. Bladder cancer here skyrocketing. Bladder cancer, that's not good. So far we have liver cancer, kidney cancer, bladder cancer. That can't be good. Thyroid cancer as well. Now this is interesting because you see the green bar here is the trend. The trend, it's a vertical trend. There wasn't really any increase in the incidence of thyroid cancer. But then we start eating genetically modified corn and soy, and or corn and soy that has Roundup sprayed on it. Boom. Dramatic rise in thyroid cancer. Deaths from high blood pressure. Deaths from high blood pressure. Another dramatic correlation here. You can see the green bar going across, which is what we would expect from past historical trends. Since genetically engineered corn and soy and Roundup have been applied to these products, a startling increase. And last but not least, deaths from stroke. You can see, again, a remarkable increase. Now, any one of these increased incidences would be enough to stay away from this stuff, right? But when you put them all together, it makes genetically engineered corn and soy and or corn and soy that's been sprayed with Roundup the biggest, baddest voodoo daddy of them all. Now, in the United States, believe it or not, it's not that easy to discover whether or not your corn or your soy, which is labeled organic, is actually organic. So you have to do your homework. Whole Foods, interestingly enough, has a very good labeling system through which they help you, the consumer, determine whether or not, or the extent to which, the food that you think is organic actually is organic. Unless you grow your vegetables and fruits yourself in the United States, it is virtually impossible to tell whether or not it has in fact been genetically engineered. Moral to this story is just avoid corn and soy unless you know for sure it's not genetically engineered, it's heirloom corn and soy, and absolutely positively it's not been sprayed with the pesticide Roundup. Interestingly enough, this should also extrapolate into corn syrup, which the food industry is putting in just about everything these days.